Can I grab it? Okay, so we're just waiting on them to load in. Here we go. So we got KazMx today as our blue Celtic player, and he's already found a hunt straight off the bat actually, because you could just see the edge of that. Probably hasn't placed down the best storehouse because of that, but he's also placed it down immediately, so sort of a win and a loss for him in that sense. Samajestay playing a fairly sort of standard move is three villagers, get on 4 or 5, then move them straight onto the ox cart. Going for a second ox cart actually, so this is where he might be deviating from what others might do, because he's just under 150 wood. If he basically gathered 1 more wood, didn't get the ox cart, he'd be able to throw down a barracks already. But it is a big map, and Babylonian are a civ that probably should be playing from behind in terms of the spearman count. Even though their food economy is excellent early game, they have spearmen that take 12 seconds to produce, which is the longest I believe. And they are quite a tanky unit. They do a reasonable amount of damage, but they are one of the tankiest spearmen as well, so they are a really beefy unit 1-to-1. They are one of the most expensive 1-to-1 at 60 resources. Celt Spearmen, on the other hand, are the cheapest at 40 resources. Well, the cheapest pre-champion upgrades. Kaz making a bit of a mistake here because he's not actually produced another storehouse. He's trying to get that barracks out, but he's going to be a little bit slow on it. He's just searching out all of his base. So he's found a good number of resources, but in saying that, Samajestay's already done the same and is already heading across the map. Already has scouted out the mid-map too, so he's going to see that Kaz has actually cut workers at this stage for some reason. Doesn't seem to be talking at all in party chat, but yeah, for some reason he's just not producing any workers, so that's really going to hurt him early on. He's got a couple more in queue now, so that's good. He's managed to notice that, but he needs to get a barracks and he needs to get a storehouse down. He's really playing quite boldly, getting double houses first, so this is something that you don't often see. This is sort of a sign that he's not really paid a great deal of attention to how others PvP, so to speak. He's sort of just playing it as it is. You know, he's distance gathering the wood, even distance gathering all the food at this point because it wasn't really central. And yeah, he's got these houses out before he's got any barrackses. Before he's really needed to get houses out, he's going to get a storehouse now. But Samajestay is going to be playing with a bit more experience, I think, here, because he's already, you know, he's using houses to wall up his wood line. He's getting the quick age 2 because he's not gone for the dock, so he's gone, well, it's a big map. Either I've got to go dock first or age 2 first, which is a fairly standard sort of process players will go through, because unless they're a particularly aggressive player, or the Celt, or they're playing in a matchup where they do just have a nice early advantage with the spear push, they typically will, yeah, just either age up straight away and probably also get on the stone, which he's going to be a bit late for. He needs more ox carts in at this stage, Samajestay, but he's going to get the stone. He's getting the handsaw upgrade, so he's already pulling a fair bit ahead of Kaz, who's taking a second hunt at this point, which not a bad idea considering he's had the amount of food gatherers he has had on food, but in saying that, he's not gathering any stone. He's getting his H2 a little bit slower than his opponent here. There's no production facilities, which in a way is good but also bad, because Samajestay is, yeah, going for the stables because he hasn't gone for the early barracks, and Kaz can actually see the stables, so Kaz should really look at getting the barracks out because he needs the spearmen, and if he can get a good number of them out now, he can save having to try and rush to get them out later on. And I was going to say, if he didn't see the stables, or if he did see a barracks, then I can understand why he would delay his barracks, because then he's, you know, going, oh, well, I'm going to get the longswords out, I'm going to kill 1,000,000 spearmen with the longswords, or 1,000,000 shield bearers with the longswords. That mentality, you know, that makes perfect sense, but delaying the barracks when he knows that the stable's just about finished now, then that's going to be quite cheeky on his behalf, really, to sort of, here, he's getting the barracks now, but it is, well, it's all the way outside of his town centre, so it's not protected. it's going to be easy for Samajestay to try and snipe this if he ever manages to overwhelm Kaz. That barracks is as good as dead, because until a second town centre goes out over here or over here, there's nothing to really protect these. So if there's ever a unit advantage, like I said, in Samajestay's favour over this side of the map, those barracks, well, they're not going to be around for much longer. And Samajestay, I thought he would have had more stone than that by now. So Samajestay is going to be a little bit late on his second town centre. Probably could have pre-mined the stone. Because I mean, well, any civ on this map would probably really be best off with a really economic focus early, just because this rush distance is huge. This is like the length of 3 equal footings basically. So like if you place your barracks here, then yeah, your opponent is like here in equal footing. So yeah. So we've got some spearmen out now here for Kaz, and Samajestay is only getting his lancers out now, but he's got the quicker town centre. Happy Smurf has actually come to say that there's problems still connecting with Savage. Even Alundra had problems connecting to him, so that's a bit of a bummer. Yeah, sorry guys, I'm just a bit distracted by that. So, Happy Smurf's just telling me that, yeah, we're having some problems with Savage connecting. So we might have to basically delay Happy Smurf versus Savage till a later date, till we can fix Savage's internet problems, connectivity problems. Maybe even possibly have to do that to his game tomorrow against... I'm not sure who's playing tomorrow. Alright, well this is interesting. So Samajestay is a bunch of lances right here, but there's a bunch of spears here for Kaz. So I don't think this is going to be the greatest of trades, because there's just that many more spearmen that they're gonna win the DPS race against the lances. But in saying that, there's this pharmacology tech, this lovely little tech here for Samajestay, the Babylonian player. Kaz doesn't get any such benefit until he actually gets his druids out, which means a bigger, well, a bigger investment, really, to start with. So worker counts right now are 38 to Samajestay, 25 to Kaz. So Samajestay, because he's got on the water, he's able to do a lot right now. He's got the bioreme out, he's going to be able to back this up with fishing ships. He can fish from the land as well quite easily. And so Kaz forced to have to garrison. Samajestay doing a good job at dealing a bit of pressure here with the raids, just slowing his opponent down, and if he can bait a couple of shots here, it'd be really good for him. So he did manage to get a couple of good shots there. There we go. So he got damage off onto 2 of them. It does miss from time to time too. So if you are moving your units, keep that in mind. You can actually dodge quite a significant amount of the shots out of ships. But if you do take hits, a lot of the time they're going to be splash. A lot of the time it's going to mean half or 2/3 of a unit's health every shot. But it is, yeah, continuing to miss shots. Oh, but there we go. There was a nice shot there. So Kaz has to be really careful about that bioreme, while also trying to minimize as much as he can of Samajestay's pushing with his lances. And he can actually trade 2.5 to 1 basically, because it's 110 resources and 50 of it's gold compared to just 40 food for the Spearmen. They're both 1 pop units though. Actually no, sorry, Lancers are a 2 pop unit. So, and it is 1 pop to 2, so it is an easier fight for the Celt to be taking. But Samajestay taking his age 3, Kaz, he's got these markets actually, which is quite nice, because this is going to mean a little bit of extra income for him. How much is that? 40 gold. Okay, so that's not too bad of a trip. In the upper 30s for gold, so that's, yeah, reasonable. So 54 to 36 is the work account though, so Kaz hasn't been as consistent with producing his workers, even though he's got these 2 markets already. He's down on the work account. Samajestay throwing up a whole bunch more gardens, because he's got the space to be able to do so, and they're a big boon for the Babylonian player. They generate 1 food every second. You can upgrade them to generate 1.5, and they actually reduce your train time and research time by 1% each, so they're a really, really nice building to have if you can afford to hold on to them. They're extremely squishy though. This is a nice switch from Samajestay. He's actually gone on to Bowman. While Kaz is still in age 2, because he knows that there's only going to really be spears, longs, and slingers, so if he's got some lancers, he can just fight and hit and run against the slingers, and then the bowmen are here to mop up any infantry. So Kaz, in the meanwhile, has to really try and force out some more from his opponent and stop him from building up this big bank, because Kaz actually has the resources to try and turn a good fight here. So we got the healing, and the animation on that, has that actually been updated? Because it looks a lot better for some reason. Has PF2K updated the animation, or is whoever worked on it? Is it Phyllis that does all the what's that called? Animation work? Because those they look really, really nifty with that pulsing on them. It's like the D researching improvement where buildings actually, yeah, they've got that nice pulsing glowing light effect. Anyway, so Samajestay an age ahead. It's 39 villages to 59, so Kaz actually quite a fair bit behind on villager count. Both of these players could really be macroing a little bit better than they are right now, and Kaz just doesn't really have any units to defend here against Samajestay. He's got some more barracks, but he's not training anything out of them. He's got the resources to spend up, but he's not. And this is going to be really dire for him. He's trying to do something here, but he's losing all of his units, so is he going to have enough to defend? He needs to get some lancers out badly. I mean, needs to get some spearmen out badly, because these lancers are just cleaning up all of his workers here on the top side of his base. So he's falling all the way down to 30 workers to his opponent's 64. So Samajestay might even be able to snipe this town centre. And there's not really much going on for Kaz back at home. He's getting some more houses, but he doesn't need them. He needs production facilities. He needs units out in the field right now. This is going to be really drastic for him. He's losing all of his caravans too. He needs to micro them back onto the first town centre so they're not going up here. No! No! So Samajestay is going to snipe all the caravans. KazMx is going to get some units cranking out of the production facilities now, but it's going to be a bit too little too late. He's going to try and force up the panic towers, but they're not going to arrive in time, I don't think. Yeah, so Samajestay spots the one that's being built, focuses straight on it. In fact, he's actually focusing on the workers because he thinks he can pick them all off in time, which is actually an even bigger benefit because you can come back and kill it later anyway. And he's going to get all these worker kills, so it's down to 18 workers for Kaz at the moment, 70 to 18. Really going to be quite tough for him. Maybe Samajestay is perhaps a little bit too competent for this tournament. And Kaz, he's got the early towers out to defend. He's even got all these farms, but it's such a big commitment, and he just doesn't have enough actually out in the field. He needs more barracks. These aren't going to last much longer, even with only ranged attacking them now. But yeah, it's just not looking very good for Kaz. Samajestay is still up at over 120 population to Kaz's 15. I think this is going to be a GG. All the workers are going to go down. It's looking really grim. The Kaz is down to 7 workers. Samajestay is just about maxed out. I think that's going to be game. GG. So I think Kaz really needed to watch his worker production then, because he just fell behind off that alone by such a big amount that it didn't really matter what Samajestay was doing after a point. He was just able to run him down, I think. And then Samajestay did have a nice unit composition here, because he knew that Kaz didn't have a range at this point, so there's no counter to the bowman. So you can always just use them to clean up any spears, and then anytime there's long swords, go in with the lancers or just go after the workers. So he's even got champion camels by now. GG guys. Get the villagers trained. Yeah, so there are a couple of really big blips there in Kaz's villager production, and guys, if you're not at least on the same level as your opponent with your villager production, the game is already an uphill battle to start with, just because they've got more, so to speak. They've just been able to gather more, able to spend more, all that sort of thing. So yeah guys, GG. That brings a conclusion to today's game.